OCD can make your world very small. Are you waiting for it to disappear before you start living? What if that's exactly what's keeping you stuck? Stay tuned because in this episode, we explore how to go from stuck to unstuck and what actually makes your world big again. This is OCD Insights.
Welcome to OCD Insights, where we break down the complexities of OCD with compassion, clarity, and hope. Whether you're seeking answers, support, or a connection, you're not alone. So let's dive right in with our host, Samantha Bray. This is OCD Insights.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OCD Insights. I'm Samantha Bray, a licensed therapist specializing in OCD and anxiety. I'm so glad you're here. If you have OCD or anxiety, you might be waiting for the intrusive thoughts to stop, waiting to feel ready, waiting for the anxiety to go away so you can finally start living your life. But what if waiting is actually what's keeping you stuck? Today, I'm talking with Rexx, creator of the Unstuck Journal, an ERP-based tool for people with OCD and severe anxiety. Also a certified meditation teacher who helps people quiet anxious noise and doubts so they can pursue their values and goals. But Rexx didn't start here. She started in a place where panic attacks and OCD made even basic functioning feel impossible. So how did she get from there to creating a tool that guides others through the same process that transformed her life? That's what we're exploring today, because the path from stuck to unstuck isn't what most people think it is. I hope you enjoy. Thank you for
Hi.
being here. I really appreciate you agreeing to be the first guest on OCD Insights.
Oh, I'm honored. Thanks for having me.
So I know we were chatting a bit before I pressed record. That's part of learning on the fly, right?
Something I
And
would do. So,
so I want to reintroduce your beautiful journal, the Unstuck Journal,
Mhm.
for look at this beautiful packaging. You were telling me about how
Yeah.
you put so much thought into it.
Yeah.
So it's a sustainable product. And we were talking about, look at this beautiful color
Yeah.
and your
We,
inspiration for the color.
yeah, we were talking about the inspiration and like color theory and what comes to mind when I see this color. And um, for me, I mean, I thought that was an amazing question. I hadn't really given it, I guess, that much thought on a conscious
Yeah.
level, but I think subconsciously, like it does signal to me like a groundedness, an earthiness. My intention only was to make sure that it was sort of gender neutral and like it wasn't like leaning towards like more feminine branding or masculine branding. I really wanted to be like, this is a journal for everyone. And so that was like my inspiration. Um, but I also chose a color that I like, which is emerald green. So yeah.
Mm, I love it. And I just want to open it. And it's probably noisy, but it comes in this beautiful packaging so it doesn't get messed up in shipping.
Yes.
I really appreciated all the detail. And then it's nice and compact so you can take it wherever. I
Yeah.
bet you gave that a lot of thought too, huh?
I did, and the belly band too, to have some information and context. So that white strip basically
Yeah.
around the journal to have some information and context around this being exposure and response prevention journal. Because I actually wanted to keep the cover very simple and easy and discreet because I don't want the cover to say OCD, anxiety, all these things. And while you're working, you might want
Right.
to work on in a cafe or something, So I wanted to just be very discreet and simple on the cover, but have that additional information on that belly band so people know what's inside.
So it's got guided worksheets, step-by-step instructions included. And I love this part, the value exploration prompts, discover and define your core values.
Mhm.
I'm really glad to see that you added that. I think that's a piece that can be missing often when
Yeah.
folks get ERP therapy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's beautifully done. And I just, my jaw dropped when I opened it. I'm just
Yeah.
so proud to see that you've done this. It's amazing. So I was curious if you mind sharing what was your inspiration in creating such a beautiful journal for folks.
Yeah. So my inspiration, I think it was maybe years in the making,
Ah,
unbeknownst to me when I decided to officially do the journal. But I, as you know, I struggled with OCD, and I saw you in 2018, I want to say it was.
was it that way? Oh, it was
It was a
before
long time
COVID.
ago. Yeah, for OCD. And at the time, um, it was one of the hardest things I had to go through in my life, for sure. Um, it was very scary, and oftentimes it's even just very hard to find qualified OCD um, therapists.
Yeah.
Um, and finding your insurance. I remember I had insurance issues. Like there's just
Oh,
all this extra added stress around OCD. And it was just all of that, going through all of that. So I
back
did
in
therapy.
2018. Yeah.
hmm
How many therapists had you seen for OCD by that point?
Um, I had seen, so I was actually quite hard to get a diagnosis for OCD. I had known that I had it once I started doing some online research,
Okay.
ironically, like chat forums. Um,
Well,
but some therapists had said I might not have it.
uh-huh.
So I remember seeing two therapists before I saw you. Um, and they were both kind of like general anxiety, or one said I had the fear of a failure, perhaps, which was a
Right.
very interesting diagnosis. I'm not to say I don't have that, but like it was just kind of like just wonkiness around that. And once I was finally able to find, thank God I was able to find you and discover ERP, I was
Mhm.
finally able to like start making progress with OCD and learning these very like non they're not intuitive like ways of dealing
Mhm.
with intrusive thoughts and anxiety. I had been in talk therapy for years
Okay.
prior. So when
Yeah.
you ask that question, I almost want to include like all the talk therapists that I had gone to that also, I kind of went in circles
Were you talking
with
about
them.
OCD themes in talk therapy?
So it's, that one is kind of a hard one for me to answer because I think I was having OCD like um, thoughts, but I don't know that they were intrusive thoughts per se.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
there was a lot of anxiety around control.
Mm.
So it was around that, in that sphere,
Okay.
and I was seeing them for anxiety. So I was before the OCD diagnosis, I got a general anxiety diagnosis.
Mhm.
So I was being treated for general anxiety. So I was talking to them about my anxiety. So it was a lot of talk therapy around general anxiety.
Right. Okay.
Um,
What
so
could
yeah,
you think that you would be dealing with OCD? What was it that made you go to the chat forums?
well, it sort of happened. Um, Suddenly, there was a lot going on in my life, and there was a video that I had watched that was triggering to me. I won't go into details as
Yeah.
to like not trigger other people, but um, there was a video that I had watched that was triggering to me.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I started getting this intrusive thought.
Uh-huh.
that I couldn't let go of. And it was just constant, intrusive thought that was the same thought. And it felt a little different than um, what I had experienced before. The only other time I recall experiencing this was when I was a child, and
Well,
it was around religion. And there
mm,
was a thought after reading the Bible, I had gotten this thought that I just could not get out of my mind. And it was just intrusive and it kept coming and coming.
mhm,
And I was very young. I didn't know what it was. I don't even think I even told my parents about it. But I know that I suffered in my room, with this thought for quite a while.
yeah.
And then it kind of just, I don't know, it just went away. There was no treatment done for that. Um, but I remember one day I didn't think about it as much. And also I became less religious, and it was
Mm,
around religion.
okay.
So as I got older and I was able to decide if I wanted to go to church or not, and I decided, it's not for me, I kind of
Mhm,
was less triggered by that kind of stuff. So that was kind of a mystery there. But then again, I get this thought that's similar to when I was a child,
mhm.
and I originally thought I was I didn't know what an intrusive thought was, so I thought I was going crazy,
Well,
and I thought I had schizophrenia. So initially, I was looking for like schizophrenia and like, could it be schizophrenia? And as
oh,
I was researching schizophrenia, I discovered OCD. And
wow.
so that's kind of how I came to that. But I was so distraught and desperate at the time.
Yeah.
So I think I was like, I need to get more than like, this isn't just anxiety. It didn't feel like just anxiety or general
Mhm,
anxiety. It just felt, um, sometimes I explain it to people as like you're being electrocuted a little bit, like you're
mm,
being shocked.
okay.
Like when that thought comes, it's almost
Yeah.
like it's like a shock to the system.
Yeah,
Like
I
you
call it the
touch
white
it.
hot flash.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
no, I
being
think that's
shocked.
yeah, it's like, ugh. And so going through like feeling constantly like you're being shocked, it's
Mhm.
like you can hardly function. So then I started looking for therapists and trying to find a specialist
Oh
for that.
gosh. Was that like in 2016, 17?
Yeah, that was like, okay. So I think I was in therapy for 2 years, and it ended in 2019. So I got like 2017-ish. That's what
So
I
can
remember.
you remember back then how the OCD and that extreme anxiety was interfering with your life goals? And the things that you
Oh
were,
yeah.
'cause I know you're a very goal-oriented person.
Yes. And yeah, I kind of always been like that, like a very goal-oriented person. Sometimes I wonder if the need for control has played a role in all of that. Um, but yeah, how is it affecting my life? So, I mean, it was affecting how it was affecting my life, or just like goals in
Yeah,
general.
your ability you could whatever you would like to chat about or whatever you feel comfortable chatting about. But I was just curious how the anxiety was holding you back from some of your goals and maybe how you overcame those
Yeah,
limitations or
yeah, it was holding me back. Well, it was quite hard to function in the beginning. Um, when I was first discovering OCD, I mean, to get out of bed, to eat, to do the basics was like a win. And so I think there was two phases. There was the phase of just like, okay, you've figured out, you put a name to it, and now you're in therapy or taking medication or whatever it is you're doing to kind of like manage it.
yeah,
And I think in the beginning, it's quite hard to do anything outside of like the basics.
yeah.
But then I got to a point with treatment with ERP where I don't know if that was like a year in or like a year and a half in, but like I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, I have all these tools to manage it. It's not making my day to day unlivable. I'm going to work again. I'm hanging out with friends again. I'm going to dance class again. But then there's other things you want to do that could be challenging. And so then, yeah, once it gets to this manageable place, there are goals like I wanted to travel.
Mhm.
And although the OCD was manageable, it was still there. And that the fear is if you do these things, like the OCD will come up, it will sabotage your trip, or let's say you want to go back to school or like whatever it is. And so,
What's
um,
the fear it's gonna, sabotage? Like, ruin it or hijack your attention?
yeah, I mean,
Mm.
but take the joy from it. So, like, if
Uh-huh.
you are, so for me in particular, there was this trip I really wanted to go to. And I remember we talked about it. I wanted to solo travel to Costa Rica and Thailand, but I
Oh,
was afraid
oh, got chills.
because I was like, well, what happens if OCD comes up while I'm on these trips? I'm by myself. I'm doing something that is meaningful to me, which is travel. What happens if OCD comes and just like ruins my trip, ruins my joy? Um, and I recall us, kind of saying, it might come up. Like it might come up. We don't know. You still go on your trip, see what happens. And it did come up. And then I'd mention, oh, yeah, it came up. And you were like, well, was it there the whole time? I was like, no. It's like, were there some times where you were having fun and you were enjoying it? I was like, yeah, so it's kind of like this thing where you move towards what I learned through that is like you move towards your values and, it might not feel comfortable all the time. There might be some discomfort. The anxiety might come up as you're moving towards your values, but that's okay. Like there'll be some discomfort. There'll be some times where it's not there. It's kind of like
Yeah.
you just don't let the anxiety completely stop you. Because if I had not gone on the trip at all, I would have had that experience of the parts that I really enjoyed. And then
Right.
it was like a snowball effect because once I realized, okay, if it comes up on this trip, I can use my tools. I can manage it.
Mhm,
Sometimes I might need to rest. I might get overwhelmed. It might be too much. And that day I just rest and that's fine too.
mhm.
But I can still go on the trip and have some joy, even if it's just like this, whatever it is. So, and um, that gave me confidence and I was able to do more things after that. And so then shortly after that, I got up and moved to New York, which I would have never have done, you know? Like
That's
I was like, oh,
amazing.
I'm just traveling to Thailand, just traveling here solo. And then the next minute it's like, well, I'm gonna move to New York, So it is like a baby steps in getting that confidence
Yeah.
piece. Um, but yeah, that's how it unfolded for me.
Oh, I love that, and I saw some of this sprinkled through the journal with some of the prompts. What are some of your favorite prompts you came up with? Just beautiful ones.
I like the prompt of embracing the unknown.
Mm,
So that's a prompt where you kind of look back and see if there's other times where you did things where you like there was uncertainty involved. You didn't know what was going to happen, but you took action and looking at what qualities you embodied
yeah.
when doing so to see if those qualities can be used to um, inspire a current challenge you're dealing with regarding
Mm,
embracing the unknown.
yeah, tapping
Um,
into that.
yeah, I mean, I just think life is one thing that anxiety, especially OCD, reminds you of, which is really true for everyone. But I think when you have OCD, it's a harder thing to accept sometimes, but that their life is just full of the unknown.
Yeah.
Like there is so little that we know. And I think in some ways there are some blessings with for me when I was like going through OCD,
Mhm.
because that's kind of like my North Star now. Like I have to remind myself that there is just so much we do not know, and um there's so many times we just have to take imperfect action, and just
Yeah.
let life unfold like in front of us. So that's one of my favorite prompts because I think it really can apply to anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you called it, like a blessing
Yeah.
to come to a place where I think you're seeing the benefits of having that attitude and taking the steps into the unknown and seeing what has unfolded,
Hmm.
um, travel and moving across the country, and then writing something to actually help others. I think it's inspirational to me that you're putting all your hard work
Yeah.
that you've done, um, out there. That's vulnerable, I imagine. Was it hard to write this? Was it a challenge at times?
Oh, yeah. That was a super challenge. I was gonna add, like, I really do think people who deal with OCD on a daily basis are some of the most courageous people. Because
Mhm.
when everything scares you, doing anything is an act of courage.
Yeah,
Um, so I just wanted to add that. But this, putting this journal together was also challenging for me. I've always wanted to. I really do enjoy creating products. I've created products
yeah,
before, little like
remember,
small things. That's kind of my passion.
the
And
subscription box is coming to mind. Like,
yeah, This- the challenge was I had a very loud inner critic in the form of self doubt,
yeah,
and it's already hard to have a business in general. But I think if you have a lot of self doubt, every bit of the process can be very challenging. So I actually used ERP and the prompts that I have in the journal
yeah.
to work through my own self doubt about creating this product. So there were days where I was just like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't have the resources. I'm funding it myself,
Mhm.
um, working full time, and then using my savings, and then, staying up late on calls in China to figure out like manufacturing. I wanted to manufacture in the US, I would like to add, but and just keep it local and work with like a
Mhm.
small company. But um, there was no manufacturing here in the US. So I had to do international, which is also another thing, and imports, like all these things I had to learn.
Yeah.
Um, and it was a lot of like every step there was so much self doubt, and so I used the same techniques in this journal. Like it wasn't any, it's not that I don't have anxiety, and I don't have doubts. It's just that I have so much faith in these tools and in ERP, and yeah, that I was able to, take what I learned. So that's why when you ask, how did this start? It's like all the way from when I was first learning ERP, that's where it started. And so I kind of use the journal to work through, acknowledge my anxiety, but then also take actions based on what was important to me. And what was important to me is that I created the final product.
Mhm.
So despite the self doubt, uh, I was able to move through that. So,
You were, practicing the be scared and do it anyway, because
yes.
putting this out into the world, that's a gift. I like this, like something new. What is something new you would like to try but feel anxious about? What's holding you back from trying this new thing? And how might you address those obstacles? They're really good prompts. And then you have it where you can break down by date and you can work through what is anxiety saying, what behaviors, either mentally or physically, are you doing to avoid feeling anxious, which those are the compulsions,
Yeah.
often sneaky too,
Yes.
if you don't stop and think. It could be, you're just going in circles, keeping your house really clean and keeping busy to avoid going and working on that journal. Or, you can notice all kinds of little ways that you wouldn't actually call pathological, but little things you're doing to procrastinate, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
And also you put in the mental ways, arguing with yourself or listening to that critic.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then you said, okay, now let's respond to anxiety with an alternative story, one that allows for uncertainty. So going towards it, that's that
Mhm.
slow step towards ERP. And then pause and observe how the alternative story feels in the body. Choose one small action you can take at this moment to challenge avoidance behavior and align with a value. And then you leave spots for the values. What values would you like to pursue despite anxious feelings? And what actions can you take towards your values? It's definitely what you did with your
Yeah.
travel and your moving
Yeah.
and creating this beautiful journal. So, what's on the horizon for you now? Imagine you're got to get this out into the world.
Yeah. Well, I'm promoting it on TikTok,
Oh, cool.
lots of word of mouth. I have the website, the unstuckjournal.com.
Unstuckjournal.com. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And, I'm just putting it out there. I also actually used the journal this morning for myself, because I find it to be really helpful for me. And, I might do another edition at some point.
Mhm.
So um, I constantly want to stay in touch with this practice. So it's often a daily practice for myself. There's things I might want, I'm looking into traveling some more potentially, um, looking into some career changes. Like, I think what I really want to offer with this journal is I find that it's hard sometimes when you have a lot of self doubt to make decisions.
Yeah.
I think perhaps this is something that other people with OCD and anxiety have.
Mhm.
Um, Even the small decisions can be really hard. So, this journal is great to use situationally whenever you need to make a big decision or
Yeah.
a small decision. So, there's some big decisions coming up in my life. So, I use the journal to kind of reflect on that. Um, yeah, this journal is really for people who are anxious and um, need some guidance on how to move forward, especially when it comes around like making decisions and choices whenever you're feeling stuck. Like I remember when we uh, were talking when we first started, one area that I had a challenge with was like around ordering food
Uh-huh.
and like it's like over like making the choice on like what to order and
Mhm.
that being like an assignment, you telling me just like, just maybe when you go to a restaurant, don't like, you don't have to pre decide when you get there, you just make a decision on what to order. Um, little practices like that, I think that it can be very challenging to like move
Mhm.
forward and make choices. So
Yeah.
that's something
From
that I hope.
ordering at a small restaurant to
Yes,
changing careers or
yes,
how to produce a journal. Yeah.
yes. These decisions are like constant within one's life. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's something that I have big things coming up, and I'm just working through them because my anxiety is present. It comes up, especially when making bigger choices. Uh, and that's why I think it's so important to just have a tool to like help guide you through not make the anxiety go away, but
Yeah.
help guide you to action despite the anxiety.
Oof, got chills. Yeah, learning to live your life alongside it.
Yeah,
Go on that trip,
yeah,
and
yeah,
when it shows up, you can
yeah.
use your skills. I think that's what's beautiful about this. It's a real tangible reminder of wait, pause, you know, press the brakes. Don't let that catastrophe in your mind blow out of proportion and ramp up your anxiety. Um, you give really good tangible steps on how to press those brakes and slow things down,
Yeah.
pause. But it does remind me when you talk about it, it sounds like a reflective moment experience to sit and journal. And how would you compare that to like mindfulness and meditation practices and your experience with that in the past? You know what I'm saying?
Maybe could you elaborate on that?
So, like when you practice um, sitting down and writing in a journal, how do you feel like that compares to like practicing some quiet mindfulness time, or
Mm.
if you had any experience with meditation, how would that compare with sitting and journaling?
That's an interesting question. I have had experience with meditation. I will say that meditation has also been a tool that I've used
Mhm.
for anxiety that's helped me tremendously. Um, I've done silent retreats for extended periods. Um, when it comes to journaling, so what's coming to mind for me is there is an idea of, if you have OCD, like, is journaling good for you? Is that like a space where you can just let your mind run and just ruminate? And I know for me personally, when I did journal in the beginning,
Mhm.
I was doing scripts, I think,
Yes.
and it turned into a compulsion for me, and I
Right.
was journaling in a way that was not very helpful. It was just like freestyle journaling, um, and I was journaling to get rid of my anxiety. And so I
Okay.
think,
That's interesting.
yes. So when it comes to journaling, um, with OCD, I think, or anxiety, I think your intention matters.
Yes.
So if you're journaling, trying to get rid of your anxiety, then it can become a compulsion and not very helpful.
Mhm.
So my goal with this journal was to offer more structure and guidance so that when journaling, you're not just like, it's the journal is not a time for rumination. It's not a
Mhm.
time to just seek reassurance
Yes.
or um,
Yeah. You're
write
not
about the
giving yourself
same.
self-reassurance.
Yeah, or to write about the same thing over and over again. Like, I mean, it's this is not the best selling point, but the journal will not make your anxiety go away. And so I
Right.
just want to say that, it's not the best selling point, but oftentimes it might even bring up more anxiety because you're like becoming aware of, um, you know, your anxiety and the sensation, the question about the sensation in your body. You might even feel more anxious after going through some of the prompts. But despite the anxiety, the goal is to take action towards your values.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not to get rid of the anxiety. And I think for journaling, um, it's neutral. It's neither, you know, good nor bad. It's just how you use it. So it can be meditative, I think, depending on how you use it. The free what write section is like more of a more open with the prompts. It's still guided, but it allows you to kind of have a little bit, time to yourself to check in with yourself and see like, okay, let me answer this question based on what is important to me. But overall, it's quite structured and it's intended to be that way
Yeah.
um, for those reasons, you know?
I really like that point you made, that it's not designed to relieve you of your anxiety, of that anxious thought, but it is a tool that could help relieve it in the long run, right? The more you
Hmm.
practice sitting with your anxiety, that's exposure work, right? And that
Yeah.
acceptance and commitment piece, like I'm going to accept that this anxiety is here, but commit to that uh, step towards the value, step towards
Hmm.
the thing I'm working on that I actually want to grow in my life. So yeah, maybe it doesn't bring it immediately, but
Right.
we're looking for long-term, um, like self-care tools, not quick, easy fixes that just like kind of put a band-aid on things, but don't take
Yeah.
care of the problem, you know?
Yeah. It's funny how that works. The less attention you give it, how it doesn't take up so much space in your life because you're focused on doing the things that are important to you. Like you
Yeah.
do kind of build that momentum the more you say, okay, I'm going to go on this trip that I've been wanting to do, or I'm going to make this career change. I'm going to move to this different country. Like you are essentially giving anxiety less space in your life.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so
I
I
love that.
never, yeah, I mean, it's it's stuff I learned from, you know, in therapy with you too. It's just there's something that we were talking about too when I first started with this journal, how anxiety can make your world really small. And when you live based on your values and what's important to you, how that makes your world big again. And
Yeah.
I felt like that really summed up how it feels to have anxiety. Your world is so small and hyper focused on
Right.
this anxiety. And then
Yeah.
when your world is big, that the way I see it is anxiety is still there, but it's maybe like in the corner of the room, it's of
I
this
love that.
big room. Like
Yes.
it's not the inside this little cramped space with you. It's like there, but maybe it's in the corner and then there's all this space. Like there's so much more space. So it's not it's not a problem.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So many things that makes me think of, like how you write about, thinking of different domains of your life that you value and how could you build into those domains, because we're going to have anxiety anyway. Why not take steps towards a
Yeah.
joy filled life and go towards, yeah, it's anxiety ridden to create new products or to take
Yeah.
leaps of faith and move or start new careers. You're not going to escape it no matter what. So why live, painted in a corner when you could be, exploring the world and giving back to the world and doing things out of a place of value. It reminds me of that example Tara Brock and Jack Kornfield shared. in a talk I heard where when you want to create that spaciousness, it's like if you had a cup of water and you put in a tablespoon of salt,
Hmm.
that's very salty water. But if you had a lake and you put that same tablespoon of salt in there, and it's still refreshing when you drink it. And that salt's like the anxiety. If your world's
Hmm.
small and you have that anxiety, it's very present. But the more that you open up, bring things into your life that you
Yes.
value, that same anxiety's there, but it's not as in your face. It's
Yeah.
kind of like
And
mosquito.
yeah. And I feel like you're also signaling to yourself that, like, you know, that the anxiety is not the center of your universe in a way, too.
Right.
Like, you're signaling to yourself that there are other priorities in your life, through your actions. Like, okay, I am anxious, but I'm going to go and do this thing. Through you can't. I learned this through OCD, which I hadn't known before. But you can't control your thoughts, and you
Yeah.
can't control your emotions.
Right.
Um, but you can make decisions about, on your actions. So in doing and acting in certain ways, it's like you're feeding this, information to your brain that, like, well, this is important to me, and, like, the anxiety is not going to take the steering wheel on my whole life. Like, I'm still going to do this matters to me. And I honestly feel like, over time my brain kind of caught up to that messaging, and it adjusted. It's like, okay, like, this is we're going to allow space for this thing, this activity, this value, this thing that's important you know
So you feel like the more you took the wheel, so to speak, and were just driving that bus, your mind, the part of you that has the anxiety wants to keep you safe,
yeah.
it caught up.
Yeah, well, because anxiety was like the most important thing in my world.
Yeah.
Like, and doing whatever it wanted was like the most important thing. And it's like this big, like, um it's like catering to this anxiety. Like, everything was direct. All of my resources were directed towards catering to this anxiety. So once I put resources in other things as well, then it became the new norm, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, like
um
the idea of your taking that trip, that
yeah.
first step and building that confidence,
Hmm.
it starts to say, "Oh, this is a paper tiger, not a real tiger. We
Yeah.
can still go
Yes.
on our adventures." That's really awesome.
Hmm.
I just wonder, how did you muster the courage, the first major change you made in your life when OCD, you were in the thick of it? How did you get the courage? Like, what did you call upon to make the changes?
So that first trip that I
Yeah,
did.
yeah, that was a big one.
Oh, well, that's such a great question. Um, because in the moment, I didn't feel like I was being very courageous, because I was very fearful. Another thing that, I've learned through ERP and just, therapy and working through anxiety is that, oftentimes when you're doing things that are courageous, it doesn't feel like courage at that time. It
No,
feels like fear and terror.
not
So
right.
I was just filled with fear and terror the whole time. But from the outside, and the people cheering me on, like you, it presented as courage.
Mhm.
Um, I think that, and that's kind of how a lot of things are for me that are new, and, where there is self doubt. I think what I had more so was trust than courage.
Mm,
Um, because I was, as I said, I was very fearful um, at the time of doing those trips, but I had trust. And mustering up the trust, it can be very challenging. But I had trust because I had taken baby steps, you know? Like I'd worked my way up to having enough trust to go on the trip. But I had been in therapy for some time. I had
Mhm.
been working through ERP and the not doing compulsions,
Mhm.
allowing anxiety to be there, not thinking I needed to get rid of my anxiety to live a full life.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
kind of the big belief system that I was working with at the time.
Had to get rid of
Um,
it first before you could move
yeah,
forward.
before I could be happy or I could do anything. It's like
Yeah.
once this is done with, I can start living my life. And that is like not how it works,
No.
unfortunately.
Right.
Um, but I had built that trust through just smaller acts and then worked my way up to having enough trust that I can, if anxiety were to come up, or rather, when anxiety came up or OCD came up during this trip,
Mhm.
um, I would have the tools. And I also think that with that trust, it does take a support system, like
Mhm.
a good therapist to
Mhm.
encourage you,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
To make you feel like you're not alone. Like you've always offered, oh, if you need to call me at any time in between, we met once a week, but like if you need anything in between, let me know. Like,
Mhm.
those kind of things. Um, and having some sort of support system, if possible, I think
Yeah.
is also helpful in trust in those kind of situations. But yeah, I'd say
So,
trust.
trusting that you would know how to handle it if when it came up and you weren't in your regular environment and you're out traveling the world.
Yeah.
I'm curious on a couple things. One, I'm wondering how would you define courage
Hmm.
if you're defining it? And then also, what was it that was your values that you were going towards when you did the first trip, that first major step you took alongside anxiety?
Yeah. Um, so courage, how would I define courage?
Courage.
Um, I would define courage as doing something um, that you're afraid of,
Mm,
something that scares you. And so I think there are some things I've done in the past that would be defined as courageous. Um, and but in my mind, I just don't see it as courage because I just feel the fear. But
yes.
I would say that it is courageous to do things that scare you. And I do think people with OCD who are out here functioning, because like I said, sometimes when it's really bad, to leave the house is huge. I would call them very courageous. It's very
Yeah.
courageous of you to be going through a really bad episode and you're brushing your teeth, you're getting out of bed, you're leaving the house, you're going to work. Like these are all huge acts of courage.
Right.
Um,
I agree.
yeah.
So going, being scared and doing it anyway.
Yes, definitely. It doesn't have to be anything big too. It can be something small.
Right.
Um,
'Cause sometimes when you're scared, it's like you don't want to shake the boat, right?
yeah.
You don't want to do anything because you don't want to be triggered more or again.
Yes.
You just want to be
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. I will say meditation was an act of courage for me back then because to sit in silence with my own thoughts was terrifying
Yeah.
because I'm like sitting there trying to meditate. I started off 5 minutes a day and I am like looking in my mind for an OCD intrusive thought. You know, like I'm
Mm.
hyper aware, scanning my mind. So there even sitting and meditating for 5 minutes can be seen as an act of courage because of the discomfort it could bring up.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I stuck it out because it was important to me to learn this skill, and it got easier for me. And it has become a really helpful tool for me. But yeah, I just wanted to add, like, even, you know, especially, I mean, doing something that could be considered good for you, there can be a lot of pushback from anxiety that comes up.
Right.
And it's an act of courage to continue to do it because you know this will be good for me. It's good for me to leave the house. It's good for me to meditate. It's good for me to, do these things. So,
Yes. The idea of meditating when you're having anxious, intrusive thoughts, that can be frightening. But it is one of those ultimate ERPs, isn't it? Just
yeah.
to notice your thoughts and pull back from any mental engagement. Just notice. Don't judge it. Come back to
Mhm.
the present moment over and over. It's really going to the gym, the mental gym, you know. On that note, though, do you remember talking about? I think we were talking about that movie, The Secret, way back when.
Yes.
Comes up a
Yes, definitely
lot
watched it.
in my
Mhm.
world still, and,
Mm,
this idea of I'm not sure exactly what in that movie, what sparks people to have this thought
yeah.
that you can't have any thoughts that are not perfect. It might be around manifesting, I'm guessing. Like, if you
Yes.
think a thought, it's gonna come true, which is we know not true.
Yes. And I don't mean to laugh. I laugh only because
No, I get it.
I'm remembering now. Like, The Secret was part of this whole my personal um OCD when we first started therapy back in 2017. That was like The
Yeah,
Secret. It kind of was it was sort of forming over a period, I think, of like leading up to this that was like 2 years. And
right.
I had watched The Secret, and The Secret. So have you seen The Secret? Have
I
you?
saw it way long ago, probably
Okay.
when it first came out in early 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I remember it was a quick and dirty
Right.
explanation on manifesting and positive power of positive thinking. But I remember thinking when I watched it, it's leaving a lot out.
Mm,
It didn't talk about how thoughts are thoughts. Um, it didn't talk about how we all have intrusive negative thoughts universally around the world, and that they don't mean anything. So I think it could imply that if you unless you're thinking a positive thought, something to the effect of bad things are going to happen, which then lends to having that idea that there's no room for anything but positive thinking. And if there's a thought that isn't positive or is intrusive or abhorrent, that's something we need to get rid of or not do. And we know what you resist persist when you deal with thoughts like that, you know? Was there something in that movie that snagged you, hooked you? Oh, it got you that shock?
yes.
Oh my god, what if?
Definitely. Um, so when I saw it, um, my understanding and the way I received it was that your thoughts literally control your world. So when
Mhm.
you think something negative, you are attracting that negativity towards you, and that negative thing will happen.
Oh
If you think
gosh.
something positive, you're attracting that positivity towards you, and positive things will happen. And along with in that space of The Secret, there's, I think also like there's like a, what are these called? The Venn diagram. Like there's like a little area of shared like affirmations. So
Uh-huh.
you will, I was also doing affirmations, like saying, things like, I don't remember the exact ones, but for example, like, I am worthy, I am loved, or
Mm-hmm.
I am capable, or whatever the affirmation is, repeating those daily, because you're trying to control what you're attracting back to you. And so this was the messaging that I got from The Secret. And it gave, at the core of it, was just this idea of control. Like
Uh-huh.
we have control to, um, we have control of our world, and it's all based off of our thoughts. That's where this control comes in. And perhaps I'm simplifying The Secret and I
Me
misunderstood
too.
The Secret. you know
Yeah, yeah.
um I imagine it does help some people, but I think for the way my mind is wired,
Uh-huh.
and my history as growing up and everything just came together to make it so that I felt like I was controlling outcomes with my thoughts, and I had to only think positive thoughts to attract positive things. So I was living like that for about 2 years, like doing all of that, and then once I saw that movie or that film that really triggered this one particular intrusive thought, then that's when things just fell apart, and I realized, I couldn't control my thoughts,
Yeah.
essentially, because I was getting these intrusive thoughts, and I was just like, I don't know what to do about this. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's when I started seeking um, a therapist. But yeah, The Secret was something that had really started uh, the intrusive, sort of this flavor of intrusive thought that I had.
It is so scary to have that thought that if I have a negative or a dark thought cross my mind, that it's potentially going to come true just because I thought it,
Yeah,
if I believe I have the power,
right.
right? And intrusive thoughts we're not trying to have, they just show up. They're just what the mind does. It just randomly makes inferences and connections. And folks with OCD tend to be very sensitive to anything like that. And they're like, whoa, where'd
Hmm.
that thought come from? Why did I have that thought? Assign meaning to it. So a movie like that, I could see how it gets scary to reinforce that idea that if you have a thought, it's liable to come true. But
Right.
I think that's a misinterpretation. I'm too like you. I don't know if I got what I was supposed to get out of that movie,
Right.
but when I hear people talk about it in session, um, I think what is actually tied into your journal is what maybe the secret was actually trying to get at. Not the idea that, you want that mansion on the mountaintop, you put it on your wall and you think about it every day and it's going to come to fruition. Not that so much as if you get clear on your values and you make baby steps in the direction towards your values and your eyes are set in a trajectory towards something you want to work towards, then in your awareness, in my belief, you you start to see more of the opportunities in front of you. You increase your awareness of, people, places, things to learn, classes to take, places to travel. You start to bring into your conscious awareness the things that align with your values, the more you're clear on what they are and are looking for them. It's like that example. If you start to think, hey, I need a new car, I need a bigger car because I got 3 kids. I need an SUV. Hadn't really thought about SUVs before. Okay. Now you're seeing every single SUV on the road and, oh,
Yeah.
that's a cool one. What brand is that? And, It's like now it's something you want to serve a purpose or because you value it. And you start to notice things that align. But that's different, in my opinion, than having a thought and it coming true, right?
Yeah.
So the same is true for OCD thoughts. Whenever you start to build up that awareness that this is an intrusive thought, this isn't in line with my values, this isn't something I want to stop and take time and turn my attention to, then you don't do that and you pull back from it. You let it sit there, right? You don't fight with it, but you're like, hey, no, I'm not going to spend time and energy on that. And then the hope would be that over time that would die down less and less of those triggers would be in your awareness. Or if they do come in your awareness as like a speed bump,
Right.
not a big tidal wave.
Yeah,
But I could
definitely.
see how if you're going to meditate for the purpose of not being anxious anymore, or meditation's how I stop this, that could become, a compulsion. So
Yeah.
you have that intention of sitting down just to watch your thoughts non-judgmentally and, allow them to be there. I think it's challenging when you have OCD to sit with your thoughts, and it could be very beneficial though to do it, like you said, in small increments to start.
Yeah,
But that's
definitely.
one way a structured journal like this can help. Um, it's like a really great step towards sitting with your thoughts, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, there glad you brought up The Secret because I think there's still a lot of, I will say, just content on social media even around this type of like self-help.
Mhm.
It's just like a self-help that is like it's all in your mind and you can control things um, by changing your mind. And on the surface, it doesn't sound so crazy.
No.
And I'm sure there's ways in which, if if you dig deeper, those source resources can be helpful. But I think if you just take it at that face value of really just focusing on your thoughts as the creators of your world and like having control over those thoughts, um, that can be very detrimental
Mhm.
to some people, like I experienced. And so it was very it my healing from all of that really shifted once I realized that it's really my actions that I
Mm.
have control over. And even now, I don't love to say the word control, but like it's really, and when I say actions, I don't mean outcomes. Like you can take an action towards your value, but you
Yeah,
still cannot control the outcome. You can't control what happens.
that's
Like
right.
I can take actions toward starting a business and with this journal, but I don't know the outcome of that. Or like when I go on the trip, I take the action towards, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to go a solo trip, but I don't know the outcome of that. Like I might
Kind of
lose my
exciting.
passport. I might on the trip, and then like all these things could actually happen that I did not plan for, and most likely some of them will. And so I think that when it's refocused on what you actually have control over, it's very little, but it
Mm.
is your direct action. And so
Mhm.
that it was what I kept in mind when doing this journal. The journal is very focused on value-based actions. It's also there's the ERP inspired piece that looks at, you know, what your anxiety is saying. And I think a very helpful piece of those worksheets which repeat throughout the journal. So you can learn through repetition, and maybe eventually get to a point where you can do it in your mind to kind of run through those
Right.
prompts. But is the resistance piece of like, what are you resisting? These things are not always so obvious, what you might be doing to resist anxiety and kind of
Mhm.
protect yourself. And in protecting yourself, you're also um, um, not allowing yourself to take value-based action. You
Yeah.
know, it's kind of you're feeding that anxiety to take up more space, like we were talking about, like the room and the cup and everything.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, it is. It really moves away from this whole like self-help idea of controlling your life via having positive thoughts,
Right.
um, and attracting positive energy via positive thoughts. It really moves away from a lot of that and focuses on actions. Even with the free writing prompts, you reflect, but then some of the prompts say, okay, well, go do that thing that you want to do. Like, take one small step towards doing that thing. So there's some action built into even those free write prompts. Um, because yeah, I learned that action based or value based action is sometimes all you have when you can't control anything else. So
Yeah, that's one thing, you have a choice on how you
yeah,
move forward, and even a choice on what you allow your mind to chew on, right? When you notice
mm,
that you can't control the thoughts that come into your mind, but, we have several channels going on at once.
yeah,
You can choose which one you're focusing on and giving that conscious attention to, and let the intrusive thoughts, soften into the background. A lot of people don't know you can do that, and it takes practice.
yeah,
A thing I think this journal can help people realize, that you can shift from thinking about what could go wrong
yeah,
over and over and over to, okay, what is the thing I want to work towards, and what's a baby step? Like, that's you driving the bus. What's the baby
yeah,
step I can take now to move forward? I love that. Um,
yeah.
gosh, there was something else you said that was so poignant. Well, this idea that sitting down and writing out that, what are the small steps you could take towards something you value? I love this because that's my style when I do exposure and response prevention with people. If that's the choice, the type of therapy that we land on would be appropriate for what they're dealing with. Um, I wouldn't encourage someone to do an exposure that doesn't make any sense in their world. I don't know an example to give right now, but I would want them to choose what's something you actually want to do that you're not doing, something you value that you're holding back from because you've got some anxiety or a fear of being triggered, or you're afraid that OCD is going to crash the party and ruin it. Whatever it is holding you back, what is it you would do if OCD wasn't around? And that's the exposure, right? That's the value. It's something they value. I remember going to a conference once, and um, for an example, the therapist threw potato chips on the floor and, and said, "Would you eat these chips off the floor?" I'm like, "No." And I wouldn't make my clients do it either.
Oh my gosh.
That's not something I value. But I mean, I think it's setting up exposure that actually move you closer to something um, you want to do. It's um, another added layer of encouragement, motivation, looking at the outcome picture. Because besides just traveling the world, which was one of your goals, if I remember correctly, there were other things built into that trip. There were
Yeah.
other values that were encompassed in that first big trip you made. Do you remember those? What you were
Yeah,
dealing with?
I remembered I was wanting to meditate. I was wanting to attend a meditation retreat, like a week long silent retreat. And speaking of can't control the outcomes, I got sick and I was not able to attend the silent
Oh,
retreat.
no.
But I still had an amazing trip, you know? Like I still had a great time, but I went to Thailand because I wanted to go to this temple in Chiang Mai and meditate with the monks there. And
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't even get to do it. But it was fine because um, I got to experience other things. I went to like an elephant sanctuary. I did like, and the food there was amazing. And I meditated like on my own. Um, so there was that. I also remember wanting to quit my job.
Mhm,
And so that was a really scary thing.
mhm.
And
Did you do that before your trip or when you got back?
I did it before the trip to Thailand. Yeah. Um, so that was something that took courage and trust. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, lots of big life changes.
Yeah, and
Um,
moving, across the country,
yeah,
moving on your own.
yeah, with just two suitcases. Like that's all. And now my room is just like filled with so much stuff. But yeah, I basically there were a lot of big life trips that to think like a year before or a year and a half before, I would not have been able to do that stuff because I wasn't eating well, I wasn't sleeping well. Like every day was like a struggle.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think think thankfully there are tools.
Yes.
Um, there are amazing therapists like yourself.
Oh, yeah.
There are, other people with OCD that I sometimes went into the chat forums too, and
Yeah.
those are really helpful, I would say. It can depend, but for the most part, there's like a community too around people with struggling with OCD, and
Yeah.
there's medication if one decides to go that route. Um, but
Lots of
yeah.
tools. Yeah. And this is one of them.
Yes, and the journal.
Oh,
I think the
out.
journal is a great tool to kind of to supplement what you're doing for your OCD. And I think too there are levels. So like you'd said something earlier. Oh yes, this idea that you can choose the thoughts that are serving you, and you can choose to kind of direct your energy towards those.
Mhm.
I feel like maybe this is what the secret is actually talking about, because I think after some time of me recovering from like the most acute phases of OCD and like not having any tools, not knowing what to do when the intrusive thoughts came up.
Yeah.
Like after I got through that, there's like a advanced level where it's like, okay, there are some thoughts that in my mind that serve me, and there are thoughts that don't serve me.
Yes.
I don't have to believe the thoughts that are not serving me. Like part of life is choosing which thoughts you will, sort of direct your energy towards. You
Yeah.
can direct your energy away in a way it's not pushing away. It has to be in a way that's not pushing away, it's not resistance, but it's just coming from a very grounded,
Mhm.
reflective place of like, I'm going to redirect away from this thought that is not a fact. It is a thought, but it is
Mhm.
not serving me. And I'm going to put my energy towards something that is serving me. So I would say like that's like the advanced level that,
Yeah.
you get to when you realize you can do that. And I think when it comes to um, journaling too, there's like a level of, if you're using it as a compulsion, it's not going to help.
Right.
But once you get to that level of where you're not using that as a compulsion, then I truly believe that a guided journaling experience is very can be very supportive with dealing with anxiety, and
Yes.
once you have your intentions checked and you're kind of coming at it from that place.
Yeah, I love that. That idea of the second level. I always see like ERP is when you're just starting and you got to figure this out, go towards what scares you and sit with
Hmm.
that. I can't control the outcome emotions. But once you get kind of on a roll and you're figuring it out, you start practicing pure mindfulness where you can see a thought as a thought and not have any judgment or try to assign meaning to it. That's a thought. Not a lot of energy goes towards it.
Yeah.
You just notice it's a thought. Yeah, that's where we want to head, that advanced
Yeah.
level. It's like you have more freedom to move around.
Yeah. You're not reacting. You're not from this place of just reaction and survival. And so every thought in your mind it feels so important.
Yeah.
You're more pulled back, observing, and then you can then choose which thoughts you might want to use as inspiration towards, getting where you want to go. Which ones are helpful to you.
I think that's where writing things out, which is a key component of inference based cognitive behavioral therapy. When you write down the obsessional sequence and you're writing out the trigger, what are the thoughts that I'm having that I'm afraid are going to come true? What are the consequences of those thoughts I'm worried about? And then how's that affecting my emotions and my behaviors? And in the writing that out and slowing down, you can start to see, uh-huh, this is the OCD theme. You go back to that doubt. No, don't need that doesn't serve me.
Hmm.
I feel like this is similar in that where you're slowing down and you're noting, okay, this is what's happening. That's a theme. I don't need to listen to that.
Hmm.
Brings it to the awareness. One of your prompts I really like here is a day of purpose. And maybe we can end with your example. Imagine your ideal day. Do you remember this one?
Yes, I do.
What elements are present? What activities
Mm,
might it involve? Plan one day that includes these meaningful activities. And that sounds so wonderful to think about
yeah.
doing.
It's one of those things that I would love to do it. I mean, I try to do at least once a week, have
Oh,
like a
God.
whole day just doing what I want to do. Um, for me, it's very simple nowadays. I live near a park. So, like, for me, a day of purpose would be going to the park. If it's a Sunday, like going to the farmer's market, first, and then going to the park. You just like sunbathing in the park. I love to read. So I would, maybe be reading. I recently got into poetry and just like not formally trained at all, but just like writing whatever. So like writing poetry in the park, and then it would involve um, going to a dance class maybe. I started dancing when I moved out here, so I've been doing ballet for a couple years. It's super hard, but I really enjoy how technical it is. It
Yes.
allows me to like really focus in. It feeds my technical side of my mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have something to focus
Yeah.
all that energy on.
Yeah. It's amazing. I know I tell my friends about it and they're like, well, ballet just doesn't seem very like free flowing or like, and there are other dances that are more free flowing
Mhm.
that I might try, but there's something about how technical ballet is that I really like because I really get to focus my brain and it becomes meditative for me because
Yes.
I it's hard to think about anything else when you have to think about a million things when doing ballet. So in that way, it allows
Love it.
my mind to rest, Whereas I imagine for someone else, it would not be very restful for them. But
It's a
for me,
rest.
it is. Yeah. So I really enjoy that. And hanging, being connected with friends. I
Yep.
am learning more the importance of um, connection. I
Mhm.
think with anxiety, and my background with anxiety and depression,
Yeah.
there's this isolation that happens
Yeah.
sometimes where I can feel like I need to isolate and until I figure out, I'm
Like,
working through a
go in your
mental
corner
problem.
and
Yeah, go in my corner and like tinker with this uh, issue or mental or this what's the word? Um, Whatever this challenge, just tinker with it, fix it. The fix it thing. I need to fix this, and I can get a in some ways I can kind of get like hyper focused on that
yeah.
and not make space for the social. And so since I moved to New York, I've been more focused on the social and getting out there. So I think an ideal day will always have to include some sort of social connection um, in it. And it would just be very, very simple. That would be my ideal day.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, it's brimming with all your values, I can
Yeah.
tell.
Yes, exactly. So my values are throughout the whole thing and trying to make space for my values, the art, movement, the connection, learning. I feel like I'm always going to be a lifelong learner. I like to learn new things.
Yeah.
So, reading, nature, being outside, yeah, all of that.
We didn't really define what values are. Do you have a definition, a go-to definition?
Yeah, well, I think values, I define them as very broadly as something that's important to you that informs your actions. So, it's important to me to feel connected. So I use that the need to feel connected to informs my actions forward. So uh, I make time for friends. I make time for social events, even if sometimes I might not want to do it. It's not like my values are not changing on an hourly basis. It's like
Mhm.
my values, they do change, and I think values can change, but like sometimes I act towards my values even if in that moment I'm not feeling like it. So like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm a little tired, but you know what, it's important to me to stay connected with my friends. So
Hmm.
because that's important to me, I will go to this event, I will go hang out with my friends, something like that.
Yeah. And then you also provided a values list just to get people jump started,
Yes.
um, where you list just things like adventure, altruism, balance, belonging, career. I mean, there's a bunch of them here, but whichever ones resonate to you at the time in your life, like you said, they change because we change developmentally and our
Hmm.
life changes. What you value as a child versus
Right.
a college student versus a young adult versus an older person, elderly, retired person. Our worlds are looking different, and we have different things that are most important to us as we grow. Some things don't change, but I'm sure a lot
Yeah.
does over the lifespan. But yeah, I love that you offered that list in here for folks that are like, what exactly are values?
Yeah.
It's the things you want to grow in your life, right?
Hmm.
Things you
Yeah.
you want present.
Yeah. The things that, like, as we were talking about earlier, that expand your life,
Hmm.
that can allow you to like make that room feel bigger and just like, brings joy to your life, allows you what's important to you, you know. Um,
I
yeah.
really think that that's a great like see it like a lighthouse. on
Yeah.
when you're on the choppy waters, you know,
Hmm.
go towards the lighthouse to get your direction back, you know.
Hmm.
I really appreciate you meeting with me. This has been
Oh,
such
of
a joy
course.
to chat with you again.
Thank
Where
you.
can people purchase this? Off the website?
Yes, so you
Okay,
can purchase it off the website. I'm looking to maybe start selling on Amazon, but that's going to be a longer process.
okay.
As of right now, you can purchase it off of the website, the unstuckjournal.com, or on TikTok if you're on TikTok. It's also at the Unstuck Journal on TikTok.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, and Amazon to be determined, but that's where you can purchase it now.
And if someone wanted to write you a message or get in contact with you, how would we do that?
You can hello at theunstuckjournal.com.
Okay, cool. Very nice to see you. I cannot tell you.
Yeah.
You are an inspiration to me.
Oh,
All the things
stop.
that when you contacted me about this journal, you were writing, I was sitting on a podcast for a couple years. What is my excuse?
No, I'm so glad you're doing it, and I can't wait to listen to all the amazing people that you have coming on this podcast. Like I'm so excited. So
Well, you're
I
one of
really
those
hope.
amazing
Oh,
people,
thanks.
Alexis. What a conversation. So many powerful insights. Such a great time to get to see her again and speak with her. From that moment of terror when she thought she had schizophrenia to learning that courage often just feels like fear and trust combined. I loved when she talked about how anxiety makes your world small, but living by your values can make it big again. That image of anxiety sitting in the corner of a large room instead of cramping you into a tiny space. That's the shift we're all working toward. And her reminder that the journal won't make your anxiety go away, that is honest. That's real because this work isn't about eliminating anxiety. It's about learning to live a full, meaningful, vibrant life alongside it. I'd love for you to subscribe to OCD Insights wherever you listen to podcasts. Each episode, we're exploring what it really takes to move from stuck to unstuck, from small to expansive. You can find the show notes, links to the Unstuck Journal, and all the resources we may have mentioned today at ocdinsights.com. That's also where you can connect with me if you'd like to learn more about the work I do. I'm going to leave you with a beautiful song by my dear friend, Kevin Sherman. He is a singer-songwriter located here in Ashland, Oregon. Let it wash over you. If you're wearing headphones, crank it up. And as you go about your day, maybe reflect on the words. You can find more of Kevin's music at kevinstunes.com. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this brave work and showing up for yourself. Until next time.
Sometimes I tend to worry just a little bit too much. And sometimes I tend to feel a little bit out of touch. And so I simply make do and hope I make it through. Because you never know which way the wind will blow. And no, you never know which way the seas will flow. Well, it's my life, and so I live it just the way that I want to. Well, it's my life, and since the last time I checked, we don't get to. So I take some extra time to play and make the most of each day, because you never know which way the wind will blow, and no, you never know which way the seas will flow. If you will, I can shake it. How much longer will I make it? So I give thanks each morning for bringing me, oh yeah, bringing me more life. I've known of you from the top of the hill, and I've known the numbness of a deep valley chill, and so whichever comes your way, just remember what I say, that you never know which way the wind will blow, and no, you never know which way the sea